So Rabbi Daniel Lapin and financial advisor Dave Ramsey sit down in a conversation, and Rabbi Daniel Lapin shares with Dave a transformative insight in our relationship with money. But what I see here is not just how we can shift our relationship or enhance our relationship with money. What I see is how we can actually enhance our relationship with people. I'd love to show you. Take a listen to the video.
We've seen a deterioration of this view of business or view of success. The success has become, there's an enemy.
Yeah.
There's a war on success, particularly a war on business. All business is evil. All rich people are evil. All successful people are evil. And it's gotten and social media has hyped it up even more, and less mature voices, more ridiculous voices have added to this war on success, and you know, with this idea that business executives are overpaid, they're greedy, and all of this, that the rich don't pay their fair share, and that runs contrary to a Jewish belief system.
Yes, very much so. And it's precisely that Jewish belief system that has created what you alluded to earlier as disproportionate Jewish success with money. But inasmuch as you also said earlier, brothers from a different mother and the connection, it also lies at the heart of what Max Weber wrote about 100 years ago, which is the Protestant ethic and the spirit of capitalism. It's not an accident that is what has created wealth in what we think of as the West. But in practical terms, what has happened in the country at the moment, certainly in this country and also in many other countries, is that there has been a collapse of an understanding of the spiritual. Now, I just want to make absolutely clear that when I say spiritual, I'm speaking from the point of view of my background as a physicist, not as my background as a rabbi. So when I say spiritual, I don't mean holy or godly or anything at all. I mean, there's good spiritual, there's bad. Spiritual just means things that you cannot measure in a lab. And so a violin or a saxophone are physical. I can measure their weight and how long they are. A tune is indistinguishable from a noise, according to any laboratory instrument. What converts vibrating air molecules into a tune that can make you happy and make you dance or make men march off to war or bring a lump to your throat, all of that happens between our ears, in our brains, in our hearts, in our souls. And so music is spiritual, a musical instrument is physical. And so the key question becomes, what is money? You know, is it discs of metal or strips of colored paper? Or how about it's the orientation of iron oxide molecules on the magnetic stripe behind your credit card, or zeros and ones on your financial institution's computer? What is money? And it's a really important question, because if it's physical, then it corresponds to the laws of physics. And one of the immutable laws of physics is that something can only be in one place at a time. And so this book right here is now here with me. And if I turn away a moment and I turn back and it's now with you, you took my book. There's no other solution. But if I teach you a tune and you go away here with my tune, you've taken nothing away from me. Spiritual things can be in more than one place at a time. Physical things can't. And that's where it gets critical. Because if money is physical, then if you have a few dollars, you must have taken it from other people. You see, socialists, secularists, atheists don't comprehend the idea of making money. They understand taking of money. It's a very, very different thing. And the whole idea that money can come into existence as spontaneously as a tune can is alien. And so, you know, I could sit in a room all by myself and compose a tune and then send it off by as an MP3 file to my publisher, and my publisher markets it and starts collecting royalties, and he can then order a caterer to send a meal to my room, and I've produced something concrete and tangible and physical in the form of a meal in my room, come about purely because of a spiritual act of creativity. And so what's happened is, over the last 20 years that you and I have been talking, there has been a marked deterioration in people's comprehension of spiritual. Hugely important for everybody trying to make a living, everybody trying to build a business, because a good number of the decisions that we make in life, particularly financial decisions, are made for spiritual, not physical or utilitarian reasons. And so when a certain lady I know very well, whose name I will not reveal, drives across town because her little app shows her gasoline costs less in another place, the fact that I explained to her, it's not worth your time, it's not worth the wear and tear on the car, just buy the gasoline wherever it is. She says, no, I can't do that. Well, she grew up in New York. She can't do anything else. That's a spiritual thing. When a person pays more money for a pair of jeans that's got a funny label on it, why? It doesn't. It's all. These are all spiritual reasons.
Well, I love that phrase. There's the difference in making money. Making money means creating.
You
money.
create it out of nothing.
Out of wealth.
That's where
out
money,
of creativity.
That is where money comes
out of
from.
service.
Yes.
Rather than taking.
You know,
money.
everyone says the fixed pie, right? It's not a fixed pie.
All right, talk about one of my favorite riffs is candles and cakes.
Yeah, well, it's the same as musical instruments and music and tunes, and that is that money is brought into existence when one of God's children does something for another. Now, we can use the right terminology. We can call it marketing. We can call it sales.
We call it service.
We can call it service, and there's a reason why we have a worship service, and we also say customer service. Those two are related. And we can look at our financial statements as a detached and vitally important set of data as to how our business is doing. But what is important not to lose track of is that at its root, it's service to another human being. If that doesn't happen, you don't have a business. In the same way that we'd say if you do not have profit, you don't actually have a business.
You have a hobby.
You have a hobby. That's right. That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
If your revenue isn't more than your expenses, you do not have a business.
But the socialist fallacy is, like you said earlier, if I take the book, you don't have the book, and so they look at the economy as cake.
Yes.
That if you get a bigger slice, that means there's not as much left for me, and you have taken.
Yes.
Rather than made.
Correct.
And that distinction in the first segment was vital. And you say that is not how the economy works.
Well, I put it this way. There are two ways of getting money into your pocket. One way is by serving another human being. It might be a customer, a client, a boss, anybody. Another way is using a .357 Magnum revolver. Now, somebody who decides to get money that way comes home from work at the end of the day, and his wife says, honey, how was your day? He says, not bad, did okay. She said, how much did you take? And he says, I held up 3 people. I took a total of about $150 and some odd change. That's one way of getting money. And the other way is actually serving other human beings who then give money to you voluntarily. And the essence of business is also the essence of being a good human being, which is finding ways to please other human beings. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing to do. And it's limitless, absolutely limitless. That's why the idea of the cake example is so fallacious. There's only so much cake. You took too much, you got all kinds of things. Must be you took it from me. This generates envy and unpleasantness and recrimination and basically breaks apart a society, which is what we see happening. It's not an accident that no atheistic regime has ever succeeded in building an effective economy. It can't happen. That's why we have the words "in God we trust," not on the walls of churches, but on the currency.
So instead of cake, it's candles.
Candles. You can light your candle from my burning candle. You've taken nothing from me. You've just brought more light into the world.
It's the Christmas Eve service.
Yes.
When I light your candle, you light another candle, you light another candle, you light another candle, and the whole place is lit up now. And it started dark, but no one was diminished.
That's right.
By passing their light along. And by passing the service along, you're not diminished if you view money correctly, because it is... that's why they call it a currency, is because it is a current.
Yes.
It is not a fixed
That's
item.
Great point.
It's not a fixed item.
Right.
So, changing gears just a second before we run out of this segment, because I want to be sure to get as much of your wisdom as I can get.
Thank you.
One of the things you've said recently that has jived again with something that I believe is you said that a completely different subject, that leaders who are not willing to engage in confrontation are not leaders.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah, of course, people don't like hearing that because today the whole, toxic masculinity, and after all, it's masculine to be willing to confront, etc., etc. And so there's this huge attack on this. But look, I think the first thing to recognize is, who is the biggest villain in your life? Who has caused you more aggravation through all your life than anybody else? Who is it who has obstructed you at every turn, who's made life difficult for you? I got a clue. His name is on your driving license.
He's in your mirror.
Yeah.
She's in your mirror.
Exactly. So the most important thing is to be able to confront yourself. And, pop psychology keeps telling us, worry about your self-esteem. I'm terrific. Everything I'm doing is... No, you screwed up. Stop doing that. It isn't any good. So being able to confront yourself obviously is a very crucial step in building a business and developing financial independence and financial peace. Everybody knows they shouldn't spend more than they make. So now that knowledge is there, why are you still around? Why do we need you? You've told us what to do. And the answer is information is not enough. There has to be inspiration as well. And that is the spiritual dimension.
Absolutely. Pat Lencioni talks about in his book, The Advantage, that a company that creates a corporate culture of healthy conflict
Yes,
has a brand advantage over any other company that does any other thing. You beat smart people.
It's a great point.
You beat people smarter than you every time if you can have a mentally healthy organization that does healthy conflict, and leaders that will not create healthy conflict for the good of progress are not real leaders. And they're just acquiescing. And you get a Neville Chamberlain event when you have just acquiescing.
That's right.
And that will birth a Churchill.
Yeah.
That's what it'll do. So, wow. It happens on the world stage, and it happens in our little businesses and in our little lives.
It's so relevant.
In order to have a spiritual relationship with money, a metaphysical relationship with money, which shows us, which shifts our focus not just on the quantifiable amount of money that we have, but how that money can actually change lives. In order to do that, I believe we have to have a stronger connection with the ultimate provider of the money, which is not just our job, because that's not the ultimate provider. That is a source by which our money passes through. But when we strengthen our relationship with the ultimate provider of the money, we have a deeper spiritual awareness of what we can do with that money, because we don't just see that money for money, we see that money for the purpose by which it was created. This is what Kabbalah refers to as elevating sparks, because we're not just seeing bodies, we're seeing souls. We're not just seeing pieces of paper that have value, we're seeing its intrinsic value. And the Midrash tells us something fascinating. When the Jews had escaped Egypt, they're crossing the Red Sea. And it says Moses had to force them out of the sea. They didn't want to leave. Why didn't they want to leave? So the Midrash says that they were collecting money from the dead Egyptians. They were collecting gold and silver, and which is a puzzling thing, because the splitting of the Red Sea was an incredible divine revelation that took place. Why were they focused on money? And the reason is because of that divine revelation that had taken place. They were so focused on the true value of the money, the true value of the gold, the true value of the silver, the potential that it could bring them. Otherwise, they had no use for it. They're going to the desert, or they were going to go straight to Israel, and they didn't really need it. But there was incredible significance there, spiritual value there that they had recognized. And here's the kicker. If you have the strength to develop a strong relationship with the ultimate provider of money, God, and you have the strength to see what the true value, spiritual value of money really is, which is the potential and goodness it can bring to the world, we can have the strength to apply that to our relationships. We could see the true value of people as well, where people are not just bodies standing in front of us, but people have inherent and unlimited value. If money has value because it could bring happiness, it could bring peace, it could bring serenity, it could bring serenity, it could bring health, how much more so does human beings who spend that money and human beings whom we spend that money on have unlimited, incredible value. The moment we shift our focus from seeing things to seeing its true source and potential is the moment we could look at people, whether it be in our marriage, our friendships, our work relationships. We can look past all the distractions and see the ultimate truth of who people are, the inherent, unlimited, incredible value, which is the fact that every single human being is created in the divine image and has a purpose. And when we look at the purpose by which people were created, the purpose for whom they are there to serve, all of a sudden everything kind of just clicks into place. Okay, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.